Okay, we're up for our public services business meeting.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Commissioners. Mike Moss, Public Services Director. Hopefully you got an agenda on your desk there for today. We have no building and planning items today. We'll have public works and facilities maintenance items only, if that's all right, plus miscellaneous. We're going to start off with public works with a few items that are on tomorrow's agenda, consent items that Susan's just going to give you a quick update on.
So good morning, Susan Eugenius, County Engineer. Public Works has 2 items on the consent agenda. We have a completion letter for the Pacific Avenue North Half Bridge project. As you recall, that project was completed earlier this year. We have received all of their paperwork, and this is the final closeout. As a refresher, the $2.8 million project had a $7,371 change order. So it came in very nice, and they were a very good contractor to work in. But this is just finalizing our paperwork. The other public works item is the contract execution for the curve warning signs. This project was awarded to, I can never remember, All Stripe on October 3rd. They were the low bidder and turned in all of their appropriate paperwork required by the state. This project is state funded with safety money. If you recall, in between the bid award and the execution, we also received an increase from the state of $111,700 to pay for this project, and this project is 100% federally funded.
I'm just smiling at your presbyopia. When you are nearsighted, it's myopia. When you cannot accommodate because your eyes age, it's presbyopia. And I noticed you were really struggling.
I forgot my glasses
Gosh.
today, and the one page, I'll hold it up and you can see how horribly small the print is. I'm not sure why anybody would think this could fit on one piece of paper and I could read it. I need my glasses and my magnifying glass to read this one.
Yeah, that's why well, never mind. But I hope you don't mind my being,
No.
we've all been through there.
So I do have just a couple of questions on the half bridge. First off, I'm assuming BNSF is happy.
I've heard nothing, so I'm assuming they're happy.
No news is good news.
Exactly.
They would let us know. All right. And then the traffic control devices are all put away and speeding at.
There is one speed hump left on Callis Garden Lane at their request.
So you're going to keep it there then?
Not permanently. We're just trying to keep it there, make sure everybody starts going back the other way.
All right.
It's at the very north end, away from most of the residences. We had complaints about them being in the middle, of course, about how noisy they are, especially in the middle of the night when trucks and trailers go over them.
Great.
And the next item on Public Works was, while I was on vacation, we had a couple fires. As you guys know, landfill
Literally.
had the tarp fire and the motor pool had a car fire. We're going to give you some updates from what we've heard recently on that. Landfill one, I could not, the investigation really did not find any causes for the fire. We believe it really was on the tarp section only, it did not go down into the debris. They may have been a spark from batteries or something that caught the tarp on fire. It was right near the 1600 line, so there could be other reasons it caught fire. But there counts 2, I believe, is investigated with no outcome on that. So
Is there outcome in the future, or are they just saying, we don't know and that's it?
it's not like they closed the investigation.
Yes, essentially that.
Thank you.
We have tarps on site to repair that area. Actually, the company is doing that. We'll be starting this week. We have enough tarps to do that area only. So, and we usually like to keep extra tarps on site. So we're going to go out to bid for additional tarps. I'm
Mhm.
guessing you'll see the paperwork in the next month or so for
Mm.
us to go out for tarps, but I think we burnt up around 8 acres of tarp.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I think our risk
Wow.
manager, we just heard him present, he's not going to be happy with an unknown as the answer.
Yeah, and we actually, I think Savannah reached out to
Yeah.
Jeremy on Friday and made sure he was aware of that. Yeah.
Just
Sorry.
awful hard in the 3 different spots, isn't it? I mean,
Well, they
odd.
talked about maybe there's with the gas buildup a little bit underneath the tarps that it just flared up and then it squirted underneath the tarps and then flared up again in that area there and burnt the tarp up there. That's what we heard from the investigation.
So you're saying that the tarps trapped some gas and
Yes.
form a conduit?
Exactly
Yes.
right.
Just what started it was the question.
Yeah.
interesting.
So if we find out any more, we'll certainly tell you guys. The other one was a motor pool fire. As you guys know, it was from a evidence vehicle that was towed in by the sheriff's office. It caught fire, I think the same day or the next day.
It was Tuesday, so the landfill fire was a Sunday and then it was
What day was the
Tuesday.
car towed in? Do you recall? Was it the
Oh,
same
I think it
day?
was, yeah, the same day.
Same
It
day.
was that day.
So we're working with Jeremy and the risk pool, some electrical issue in the car, caught fire. Luckily, it was contained to the car, but there is some smoke damage inside that structure. That's the motor pool building is the backside of where ENR is at, closest to the airport. It's really a
Parrot
tenant way
Way.
address, but it's closest to Parrot Way.
Yeah.
So try to get some bids in to help clean and repair any damage in there, but it was mainly due to the damage is done to the car, but like I said, there's quite a bit of smoke damage throughout the structure.
So was the evidence destroyed?
That I don't know. I do know a lot of our inventory that was stored in there, like car seats, that we do replacement seats for sheriff's vehicles were damaged by smoke damage. Our Bearcat was in there and that had some soot, but no damage that I'm aware of, other than the vehicle that caught on fire and then also, again, our inventory that was stored there.
And the damage isn't expensive enough to trigger insurance coverage. It's our nickel, right?
That, yes and no. So for a personal property, our deductible's a lot less. I believe it's a $5,000 deductible. So on the inventory items that were stored in there, we could potentially get some funds back. There wasn't any structural damage to the building, which is good because that deductible is a lot higher. So we need to meet with the adjuster, which I just again emailed Jeremy on again about this morning, trying to figure that out and when they're going to be on site. We do have bids back, and then we'll present those to risk as well.
I don't recall us ever having a fire among evidence vehicles
No,
before.
yeah. Most of the time they're actually stored outside. We have a little fenced in area. We have a few trailers back there, not us, the sheriff's office does. And most of our wrecked vehicles, they pit maneuvered somebody and they're back there, but they usually don't store them inside. There might be a reason on this particular case. I don't know the reasons behind it for the sheriff's office, but they usually go to the back lot where they're outside.
Mhm.
All right, sounds good. We'll move over to facilities maintenance. Hopefully you guys get a chance to go to HOJ Hall of Justice parking lot. It's now completed with grind and pave and striping and new curb stops. So it looks really good over there. Our next outside project there will be the Ivy, which I think we're going to probably tackle in the springtime. We're tackling the one that we mentioned before between us at this building and the post office. Hopefully the next few weeks, we gave the green light for the landscaper to remove all the ivy here, and then they'll be sprayed a couple times behind it to make sure it doesn't come back up. But the HOJ ivy will be at a later point. HHS parking lot will be, when we have a break in the weather for a day or two, Lakeside will do that parking lot over there. So I think we're getting a break on Wednesday and Thursday this week, but I'm not 100% sure it's scheduled for that point. Lakeside is having their plant open all the way through December since they're doing the major project out at the intersection at the Y for the new warehouse out there. So we have plenty of time in the next 6 weeks to get a break in the weather to get the HHS done before winter really sets in.
Before you have to put tarps back up on the roof.
Yeah. So hopefully, you know, there's a little inconvenience for the people at HOJ when we did the work over there, but like I said, is needed for many years. That parking lot was in terrible shape, so it looks so much better now.
Yeah.
5-year plan workshop, scheduling, we're hoping, we're hoping to get it on to maybe tomorrow. It looked like your calendar is fairly light, and we're hoping to bring back the 5-year maintenance plan. They had a few different options there for you guys. I think tomorrow at 1:30 you had the planning commission discussion, and there's just the miscellaneous. So if you guys have time tomorrow, I'm hoping maybe for a 20 or 30-minute discussion on that maintenance plan that we brought to you guys during the budget hearing, was it 2 or 3 weeks ago? We got a little bit of detail, but not tons, but we figured we'd workshop it on a different day. So if you guys are,
Yeah.
if you're available tomorrow, we'd love to workshop that tomorrow with you.
Do we get almonds again?
Yeah, sure. Good job. The next 2 items, I'm gonna turn over to Will on the Health and Human Services roll-up door, and there's a change order at the jail that he'd like to discuss.
Good morning, Commissioners. Will Tosted, Facilities Maintenance Manager. I think Gina James is on as well. I think she wanted to explain the need for the door, and I can answer any questions. You want to start off, Gina?
Sure. Yes. Thank you. Gina James, Health and Human Services. We wanted to touch base with the board on this roll-up door. You may recall it's been some time. We were looking into options for the front of our building. It creates a really nice alcove in the front of our building where the public enters, where the doors open and close, but it's sort of a squared off alcove area. We have a lot of campers who find their way there overnight and leave messes in the morning. On one occasion, there was an individual attempted to start a fire right there in the entryway to our building. So we reached out to facilities and started looking at options. So facilities helped us. We went out to bid for a roll-up door to block that area off. The first bid that came back was just under $38,000 to put a door there. So we had a bit of a sticker shock and decided to go out for bid again to see if it would make a difference. So it went out for bid again. We received one additional bid back at $31,123. That includes the door, and Will, correct me if I'm wrong, includes the cost of the door, the labor, and some electrical work that would need to be done to install the door in the front of the building. It was still a bit of a sticker shock. We just kind of wanted to pause and check in with the board. We would like to block that area off to prevent the people from sleeping in that kind of alcove area. They often leave messes that either staff or we have to call facilities to come and clean up. They often use it for a restroom and other things. So we're looking for ways to help mitigate that so we don't have to call facilities or have our own staff go out and clean up so that the public's not walking through that mess. So anyways, we just wanted to kind of pause and touch base with the board and see if we can move forward with getting that door installed, or if we should look at other options. I'm not sure what other options would be, but anyways, I'll pause there and see if there's any questions.
Thank you, Gina. And to expand off that, yes, maintenance gets called weekly or at least bi-weekly, and we have to go remove sleeping bags, blankets, feces, that kind of thing. They did have 2 decorative planters in front of the area at some point that were also used as restrooms. So we removed the planters, but there's still a mess there. I think it's just the proximity of the location, and HHS is looking for ideas to, mitigate that. Any questions?
Who is paying for the door?
I believe it's HHS is paying for that door.
I think we're we're seeing that similar type of strategy being used on all kinds of buildings around town where they're locking a church across the street from here.
Yep.
Had to build a wall and a new door.
Yep.
Because they had exactly the same kind of a hidey hole. Probably another, something similar is needed at the museum, and they're constantly fighting the same kind of stuff. In the
Yep,
back
that back door.
entrance. Although it's less convenient to have a pull down door there, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to picture the building. Is there any parts of the building, if we do this, are they just gonna move to a different part of the building? I can't picture it really.
Yeah, so I can expand on that a little bit. So it's about a 3.5 foot alcove, maybe 30 foot wide. Those are the rough estimates that they go over. However, to answer your question fully, there's a covered sidewalk that would be, but it's not tucked in an alcove. From my experience, it's the alcoves. Someone feels hidden or protected, or it's a windbreak. But the covered sidewalk, although it's covered, I don't think it would be much of a place to stay.
Gina, is your back door at the HHS, is that covered back there, or is it just flush to the back parking lot?
Flush.
Is it flush?
It's flush, yeah. Yeah, that's our only sort of alcove area in the front.
the back door is flush, the front door is flushed. Regularly, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Have to do it, I think.
sad, but
Any other questions? Gina, any other comments?
No, like I said, we'd like to move forward. We just wanted to do a touch base with the board and see if you're okay with that.
And that's correct, the HHS is paying for that, Gina?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
yeah, in lieu of a heavy electrical grid, you could I think it's sad that we have to do that kind of stuff, but I understand it, so I don't have any heartburn with it.
Okay, thank you. I'll move on to the next topic, which is on the jail HVAC project. We have a proposed change order. It's 23,204.58. What the change order would be for is part of the original contract. It's a large contract. So although that's a lot of money in the
It's
grants,
23K up or down?
23 more.
Oh,
So although in the grand scheme of things, it does seem like a lot, the project's 600,000. So it's fairly a small change order. But what that change order is for is to repair what's called a FTU, or a fan thermal unit. So identified as part of the contract, pretty much since the jail was built in 2004, they've had heating and cooling issues that have remained for all these years. So as part of the contract, Don added in the scope of work, Don Nyman, project coordinator, is to investigate these fan thermal units and identify parts that need replaced in order to get the system working how it should have been in full capacity. We're still having issues there as the fan thermal units haven't been repaired yet. But once that happens, we can commission and fully repair and fix that system.
Just for clarification, I'm fairly fresh. This one
Yeah.
too is, so the FTUs were throughout the structure. You with JH Kelly put new units on the top. So for them is it to talk to each other or control the airflow? Is the FTUs, how do they work with this stuff on top?
So it works twofold. It's part of dampeners, and it's also a part of reheat units or reheat boxes throughout ductwork. As there's long stretches of ductwork, it requires a fan thermal unit to keep that air constantly moving towards the end of the trunk or towards the end of the system. I believe this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. The cost is for 11 replacement fan thermal units. So that tells you about half are failed.
So you knew there was an issue that was in the scope of work, but you really didn't know to what level till you guys were commissioning the units.
Correct.
Found out that there were 11 of them broke and now it's a change order to replace those 11.
Yep.
Okay.
You perfectly described that. So, the reason we couldn't include it in the bid is because we didn't know. So we can't ask for a cost of what we don't know that needs fixed. Is why we added the discovery in there. And we got a report that showed, the units that need replaced.
So you said the cost was 123,000 higher
No, just 23,000. But
to fix 11
So
units.
about
Yep.
$2,000 a
fairly-
unit roughly.
That's a fairly good trade-off then, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah, I would think so. And like I said, the repair would be to, if you ask anybody from the jail, they've had heating and cooling issues for many, many years. And this would be to get the system back into how it should have been in the beginning and a full repair, not just repair part of the system.
so you're probably not aware, Will, because you're wearing a jacket, but we've got heating and cooling problems here. too.
Everywhere, yes, yeah. I checked this morning and it was 71, which was adequate, but it has cooled down since.
I agree. It's a reasonable thing to do. It does point out something that, in time we might be able to address, which is what you'd normally call an acceptance test procedure, where on contracts like this, there should be something specified that at the end, they prove to you that the FTUs were properly installed and done. I can just imagine, I'm not saying it happened that way, but it's easy to happen this way. I bid to build a jail and I get near the end and I'm like, let's just get this done. I'm going broke here or something like that. And I'm not gonna, we need to have test procedures in there so they have to complete the job properly. And I don't think we typically have that in the past. I'm pretty sure you guys are on that now, but
Yep.
I just want to repeat.
Yeah, and that test procedure is exactly what we call commissioning. And it's the turnover, whether it's the commissioning of a building or an HVAC unit. That commissioning turnover, sometimes we need engineering support, but it's commissioning and training to maintenance staff that we've included on a lot of these newer projects, the morgue, this large HVAC project. So
And it's in the contract then that
Yep,
says you've
yep.
got to be successful at your ATP.
It is, yep.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, J.H. Kelly's been pretty fair with us. They saved us.
Oh,
I
they're-
don't remember that
yeah.
one project where they found a way to do it and saved a ton of money. So
A couple $100,000 on that, on the
Yeah.
project, yeah.
I
Yeah.
think this is the
is-
same project.
it's just the same
Same
project.
project, yep.
Yeah.
Yep, so, yeah, instead of having the unit scabbed on the side, it was built in with a replacement
Yeah.
brand.
Yeah. So we're good.
Thank you.
Thanks. And with that, I'll turn it over to miscellaneous from you guys or anybody from, I guess, the crowd, but I'll start with you
Well,
guys.
You could start with me.
Yeah.
We've had some discussions on Remind the Road, you know, the property I'm talking about, the Keeps.
Oak Point,
Yeah,
yes.
Oak Point Road.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do with
So
that?
today at 3:30, we're meeting the Keeps out there along with county engineer and our road operations supervisor to a walkthrough of the property.
Okay. So my colleagues know where I'm at on this, on the Keeps on Oak Point Road. We found a way to help them on part of the driveway, but the front part had these dimensions and they had at least three different bids that were over 77,000 to 80,000, which just seemed totally unconscionable to me. So I had a discussion with Public Works in one of their meetings. They said, man, it shouldn't be that much. So I asked the Keeps to get more bids and gave them some suggestions. They still came back with a bid of 77,000.
Correct.
To do roughly 50 feet of asphalt and to widen.
Yeah, the bids I saw actually were a lot further than that, once I started looking to it, it's like 300 feet back. A lot of this work was getting done. That's why I think it's best to maybe meet with the Keeps on the property side itself to do a walkthrough
Yeah.
to really figure out what's needed at the very beginning of the right of way with us and what's needed further back. That might help both sides today.
If we were going back to a huge development, I can kind of understand that, but we're talking about, we're gonna end up with 3 houses on this.
Yeah, it sounds like they're already.
2
doing-
houses on actually their driveway and 3 houses on this from the road frontage.
Yeah, and I had a chance to visit with the Keeps this morning before our
Yeah.
meeting here. It sounded like most of their parcels back there are around the 2 acre size lots already, so they're probably not gonna be broke down any further, so.
Well, and I just, in my opinion, that's unreasonable to ask a homeowner to do that kind of work. If you're asking a developer and he's building 100 homes, I kind of get that. But when you got a homeowner that you're saying, oh, it's going to cost you $80,000 to do this, I mean, you would agree. I wouldn't ask that of you. I wouldn't ask that of anybody.
So we're talking about public right of way access?
No, it's actually a
or-
private driveway to a county road and I think Susan can help me out here, but the beginning of off the right of way, how wide the road needs to be on the private road or on their private driveway to start with. I think that's our main discussion point today with the Keeps is how wide is that initial part on the right of way, how wide that road needs to be for that many houses.
So we have a standard detail for access to a private road, which by our code is defined as anything that serves 3 or more houses. So the initial 50 feet off of the public roadway needs to be paved. It needs to have the radiuses that allow larger vehicles to turn in, and it is 24 feet wide, which would be 2 12-foot lanes, which is the standard we're trying to bring all of our roads to. So that is our standard access detail for a private road. It gives you the ability to have a vehicle sitting there to ready to turn out and a vehicle to turn in. Because the average ADT from a single family home is 10 trips. So that would be for 3 is 30 a day. And so it gives the ability for people to move in and out without blocking the public right of way. And so that is why the design was set up like that.
But where are we going to end up on this thing?
Let's visit the site today to see what kind of access they have egress from that property. I showed Susan a
Okay.
couple pictures of a video I had last week when I went and visited the site. But we usually have better success just as a group going out to visiting a site and see what we can do out there.
Yeah.
They might have issues on both sides of the road. We gotta see, there's power poles on one side, there's a nice fir tree on the other. We just gotta, it's usually the lay of the land might help us out.
And,
I can't give you an exact answer today.
and
yes
how
or no.
long after you get the lay of the land can we get it resolved? I mean, we got people wanting to build
I understand.
a home here.
So yes, we have people wanting to build a home, but my main goal is always public safety on the traveled road because that as the
We've got
county
3
engineer-
homes down there. Public
Right.
safety on this road. If we were to punch in another driveway, we wouldn't have all these issues. I don't want to, you don't have a public safety issue out of Oak Point Road. So if you're going to argue that with me, I'm not going to accept it because you just don't. If you're running through Lexington, yeah, you do.
Let's look today, Commissioner, and then we'll give you an answer tomorrow after we get a chance to visit with
Okay.
everybody
I
on
just
site.
don't want
today.
something 2, 3, 4 weeks down the
Oh,
road.
no. I know they're ready to build, yeah.
Okay.
And they're waiting for, I think, PUDs, they're waiting for the road to get in place so they can get power out to the site and stuff. So I know there's things in place that they want to get done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because when I first brought this to you, you guys are saying there's no way it should cost that much.
Yeah,
It should be 10 grand at
Yeah.
the
But
most.
that's why I want to look at the bid
And if
with
it
them
was
out there because
That we wouldn't even be having a discussion here, but
because some of the costs that were in here, it looks, that's why I want to visit with them on site because some of this, the costs that were on these bids were like 300 feet of that width all the way back, and that really wasn't the requirement. So I want to see what they got bids for, and what we're really looking for from an agency, see if they're the same or not.
because I know they're willing to spend an amount of money. They don't expect it for free, but.
Yeah.
But if you were building a house or you were building a house, I'd be sitting here arguing the same thing. I'm not gonna charge you $80,000 to get access to your house.
Correct. Yeah. And we had that discussion. I'm building a house now and my approach wasn't that much, but I also have one house on my driveway, but I certainly
Maybe
don't
I better
spend
up your bill,
$66,000
Mark. right?
on a driveway.
Yeah,
sure.
might have to send you a new bill. Okay. I don't know if my colleagues want to chime in or not. I had another miscellaneous.
Yeah.
And this one is really, it's an idea and it started, and I talked to building and planning a little bit about it, but we've had more and more, instances where we get, emails, calls on, like, we got a trailer sitting in the neighbors are saying it's dripping sewage. I mean, these kind of, I don't know if you want to call them nuisance calls, but property calls where somebody's put in a trailer, they're building by my well, or we have all these different things. And what typically happens, we hear is, I went to building and planning and they said, no, it's an ecology thing. So I went to ecology and they said, no, it's this type of thing. And so the thought came up that, this is really just an idea and looking for opinions, is maybe, and the commissioner's office would facilitate putting this together. I've talked to our executive assistant about this, a committee that these things could go to that had ecology, had public works, had building and planning, and they could look at the problem and say, this is handled this way and it goes through here and it gets directed and it gets handled instead of them jumping from place to place. And sometimes handled might be, you know what, that's really not a county issue. You got a neighborhood dispute. You need to figure that out.
Correct.
You know, instead of them jumping around to every department and then they come to us. And so it's really just an idea of what you guys think. And if you'd be open to that, like I said, the commissioner's office would run with that if you guys were open and wanted to
For sure.
try
I
it.
think, I think it's a good idea. The nuisance abatement officer, I could see them leading that charge along with the executive assistant. And then maybe a monthly meeting of what fresh came through as a new file and what the existing ones are and what priority they are. And like you said, who's the lead agency taking the lead role? Because a lot of people think it might be a public works issue, but if it's in a sewage, it's an EHU issue. Or if it's a trailer in the right of way, yeah, it's our issue. But if it's off the right of way, it might be a citizen versus citizen issue.
And if it go to this group and they can figure that out.
Yep.
And then it says, hey, we've had these issues. This is what we did. Then that phone call with me, if they call me or they call our colleagues, it's a different conversation.
Correct.
I thought we already had that set up at one time with the nuisance abatement officer and the deputy. We got an agreement with the deputy, and I think Patrick was in on the group that had to anticipate it. And yet we keep hearing people, the silos are stronger than ever, and the citizens get shunted around from one office to the other.
I don't remember there ever being a committee, but I thought that, as you said, the nuisance abatement, and that was part of the reason we reestablished that,
Right.
was so the nuisance abatement person was running point and saying, oh, it's a sewage issue, that's EHU, and doing that coordination so that they weren't getting bounced. They had one main point of contact. I thought that's my recollection when we reset up the nuisance abatement. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think Commissioner Weber, we did meet a couple times on a couple of issues, but it's never a set meeting. And it's mainly for the stuff out on, is it Nemai?
Or either that or that Sunset.
Sunset, yeah, where we had EHU, sheriff, everybody in the room at the
Nemai
same
Road was
time.
one of them out
Yep.
west of town, and
Yep.
then, yeah.
Yeah,
there's
that's what,
between.
yeah, so it wasn't a set committee. It was just like,
I-
oh, we have a couple major issues. Let's get together as a group and get a game plan together.
So would it make you throw up if I had her work with departments on that? You'd be okay with
Oh,
that?
yeah, for sure. Because like you said, there's the
You guys
silos.
okay with that? Questions?
Yeah, I'm okay with it, but I have questions. It's even though you're a commissioner and you're expected to behave in a certain way, I know that if somebody came to you with a problem, you wouldn't just hand them off completely and not check back and make sure.
No,
Right. And so I think we need in the different agencies that face the public, we need to have the attitude of a firm handshake transfer over. So this is a EHU problem that came to somebody else. Well, then EHU, they accept it. I mean, that the first contact goes, talks to EHU and said, this looks like it's your problem. If they say it is, then they take it from there to completion. We need to have that kind of attitude, which is what would happen with the committee. I'm not so favorable towards a group of meeting 6 to 10 people. Because we typically know that for half a dozen of the people there, it's a waste of time at the moment. The other concern I have or a fear is that we get so many complaints that I wouldn't want to tie up stuff unneededly. And if you advertise that you have a committee out there, you're going to get a lot of phone calls of the kind, which I don't like my neighbor and he's doing this and that. And it just chews up a lot of time. That's where the officer, that name escapes me now.
Deputy.
No, the problem officer,
Oh,
the
nuisance abate.
nuisance abatement officer. Yeah, thank you. Comes into play. So I wouldn't want the committee to supplant that, but I would want the committee to hear that the public has issues. And then collectively, maybe they can come up with a better way of approaching things. So long story there is, yeah, I'm okay with that. We have to be aware that it needs to be done well.
Probably the solution is we just move building and planning and EHU out to the same facility as well, Public Works. Then you're all together in one office and one-stop shopping, right? There's plenty of room out there, right?
Yes.
I think
Plenty of
that they used to have that downstairs, where the Public Works is downstairs.
Yeah, they were, yeah, correct, yeah.
With parks
Did you-
and.
Parks, everything was in one stop. Yep.
Cause the maps still show it down there,
yeah,
Public Works.
just, people are what's used for housing these days. It's changing. I mean, I only bring up the name because I'm familiar with it, but it's all these type of parks, Paradise Cove. When that was done in the 70s, you came and you stayed a week and you fished and you hunted and you fired up and you went away. Well, if you were to walk, if the three of us were to walk through that today and ask everybody in there if they were here for a short term or if this was their home, I'm guessing that way more than 90%, closer to 100 are going to say, this is my home.
Yep.
So we seem to be running into the issues that revolve around these type of situations, whether it's people putting travel trailers on their property and renting them out or whatever it is. It just seems to be more prevalent.
Is the mailbox kind of a giveaway?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and it's just, trying to kick around ideas and how we address some of those in a more expedient manner if possible.
Yeah, I think it's important to have the sheriff's department there. We have Deputy Harris with us at Public Works, but 9% of our calls, complaints from road hazards, stuff in the right of way go through him with Hulk permits and trying to work with neighbors to get cars out of the way. But they hear a lot, not just from our staff, but directly from the 911 comm center. So with them in the room, I think they're an important piece of that puzzle for us.
Yeah. It really stems from a desire on my point. I'm not saying I want to give them all the answer they want, but they need an answer.
Yes.
And even if it's not the answer they want, we get them an answer and that's what it is.
I agree. Yeah, we're game.
I was just going to provide maybe unwanted feedback. But talking about maybe we do have new people in positions, and the nuisance abatement officer in building and planning is a relatively newly filled position. It could be also a training aspect. We meet with building and planning weekly, and then also EHU season comes in on a weekly meeting, with them as well. It could be truly really getting together and communicating a better process. And I only say that because I don't, we hear like death by committee or adding more red tape, and I would hate to slow down some response time just because, we're meeting monthly. And so some of these may not be reviewed. I don't know. I just feel like we can also help out by communicating better with the groups that we're working with. And also start there until, if you guys decide another committee is one, the direction, then we can move towards there and at least have some training and communication prior to that.
Well, if you already got a group meeting, it doesn't have to be a whole brand new committee. You
not all
can- you
those
can
members.
Utilize
It's
resources.
not all
so-
those members. It is
Time, it's
yes.
individual. but
So,
yeah.
so I'm thinking we can coordinate that better. Instead of having split groups, we're already there once a week. Why not get together, all of us once a week, as opposed to separate groups, and just get on the same page and have nuisance abatement present.
Yeah.
So Savannah, in an earlier lifetime, didn't you do process redesign? That's
Yeah.
that's kind of your,
It's been a while, but yeah. Yeah, I like,
been
I
a
like,
while.
I like making things, I like improving things. I like that gratification. So I just think that
it's worked with Mike. I mean, it's just awesome.
we've still got some work to do.
Lots of
Commissioner
work to
Weber.
do.
But no, I think it's a great opportunity to kind of take advantage of getting better communication within those divisions, for sure. That's my 2 cents.
But, and there's, I'll be honest, there's a little bit of selfishness in there too. If we have somebody from the commissioner, then I can walk out to a desk and say, where are we on this? So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that'd be imperative to have Kelly involved in these meetings.
I can re-say that from the public standpoint. Do I really have to go talk to a commissioner to get something taken care of? And that shows that we need to improve something.
okay. Appreciate your input. Any other miscellaneous?
No hands up.
No hands up? Any comments? Anything? Okay. We will adjourn. Thank you.